Good afternoon and welcome to RSBN Live. Looking live there at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. It is Wednesday, December 17th, 12:46 p.m. Eastern Time. We have a lot to get to this afternoon and morning for those of you in the Central and Mountain and Western time zones. So again, thank you so much for joining us. At 1:15 Eastern, the President and First Lady participate in a dignified transfer ceremony. That'll be at Dover Air Force Base. And according to the Des Moines Register, President Trump will participate in that dignified transfer of the bodies of 2 slain Iowa National Guard members when they arrive in the United States, of course, on Wednesday, today, of course, the 17th. Sergeant William Nathaniel, so Nate Howard, he was 29 of Marshalltown, and Sergeant Edgar Torres Tovar, 25 years old of Des Moines, and a civilian interpreter, Ayad Mansour Sackett of Michigan, were killed Saturday by an attacker who targeted a convoy of American and Syrian forces before being shot dead. We do have a couple photos of the Iowa National Guard, as well as the AP reported the gunman stormed a meeting between the United States and Syrian security officials in Palmyra, Syria, and opened fire after clashing with Syrian guards. So that is what we're going to be seeing here when it comes to that dignified transfer ceremony. We'll show the photos of the 2 fallen veterans a bit later. We're also monitoring the latest condition for West Virginia National Guardsman Andrew Wolf, who was shot in D.C., along with Specialist Sarah Beckstrom, who was killed on November 26th. We're hearing that the guardsman in West Virginia there, Andrew Wolf, is recovering. There's progress being made, so we got to keep the prayers up for that. Also, tonight at 9 o'clock, the president delivers an address to the nation. That'll be at the White House from the diplomatic reception room. So a lot going on here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Before we get to some of our interviews and before we dive deeper into what's going on out there, let's go to the Commander-in-Chief as he is on his way now to Dover Air Force Base. Okay, so two videos that you saw there back to back. One, the president departing on the South Lawn on Marine One over to Andrews Air Force Base. Then you saw him deplane from the helicopter and then get on to Air Force One. Now he's going to go from JBA right over to Dover Air Force Base. Obviously a pretty quick flight. For this 1:15 event, the president and the first lady participate in a dignified transfer ceremony at Dover Air Force Base. Again, the two fallen National Guardsmen from the state of Iowa, Sergeant William Nathaniel Howard. He was 29 years old of Marshalltown. He's the gentleman on the left. And then on the right, Sergeant Edgar Torres Tovar. He was 25 years old of Des Moines, also a civilian interpreter. Ayad Sakat of Michigan lost their lives during that targeted attack there. We can get into more details as the broadcast goes on. So that is what is happening this morning. Again, tonight, the president will also be delivering a speech from the White House at about 9 o'clock from the diplomatic reception room. So we'll have that coverage tonight. I believe we're starting at 7:30 Eastern. Robert McNeely will be in studio for that coverage as we're taking a live look right now at Air Force One taking off. In the meantime, let's go now to Kate Monroe. She's the CEO of VetCom and a military veteran. Kate, first of all, thank you so much for your service. These are the kind of days it's not easy to just kind of sit here and do this, is it?
Yeah, it's very difficult as somebody who talks to veterans. In fact, I just talked to some veterans this morning. It's very hard. I mean, these folks were actually not veterans, I don't think. I think they were active duty deployed. And even the people that work alongside us, interpreters and other things, it's very sad to see them go. But I do want to remind America, this is what we signed up to do. This is exactly what we signed up to do, to put our lives at risk, firefighters, police, people that serve in the military. So while it is absolutely a tragedy and should never, ever happen, it's not a wonder when it does, because when you run to the battle, things like this will happen. So I think that we really need to just reflect on thanking people who are willing to do this type of work that other people are not willing to do.
Exactly. So, and that's the military, that's Customs Border Protection, ICE, our law enforcement. It's about law and order. It's about protecting the homeland. And these are things that we want, at least the majority of the country. The people that say they want less ICE out there, or no ICE, or no police, defund the police, open borders, that doesn't sound very secure and safe to me.
I don't believe that anybody actually wants that. I think that it became a talking point and part of a narrative of just gaslighting and grandstanding. I don't think that they believe that, because they themselves would have gates around their own properties. They would have armed guards. They ride in bulletproof vehicles. So the things that they enjoy, they pretend that it's good for them, but not good for the rest of the country. I find them just to be disingenuous. I think the whole of the nation appreciates some level of security.
Exactly. I mean, even first responders, everybody, people that are working in the 911 dispatch centers, doctors and nurses on the right side of history, all of the people out there that help keep us going, when it comes to safety and protection. And if heaven forbid you're in a car accident, you have people that are there to help you. And it just goes full circle. I mean, there's been a lot going on. Even though Veterans Day was on November 11th, we're looking at the Salute to Veterans Bowl just last night in Montgomery, Alabama. We'll have a video of that in a little bit. We had the wreaths across America over the weekend. It's these things, and the words that come about are freedom, right? It's all about doing it for freedom. So, we can't thank them enough, but also speaking up about it, and supporting, I think, is a big thing, because for so long the mainstream media has just been kind of like, standoffish. They don't like anything that has to do with God, family, and country, do they?
No, they don't seem to. I guess it depends on what kind of media. I mean, you and I are sitting here certainly thanking our nation's service members, and no matter where they come from. But I think it's just, like I said, just become sort of a talking point, and people don't really realize what they're doing. I mean, there's this sort of exaltation that you see with actors and people who play in sports, right? Those are the people that we want to stand up and cheer for, make sure they make all the money. And, we want to praise veterans on Veterans Day when we happen to be laying wreaths. But in my world, it's game on, Super Bowl, Veterans Day, every single day. That's all we do here, is make sure our nation's heroes know that we see them, we care about them, and we're going to make them whole on that promise.
Exactly. It's 12:56 Eastern. We're speaking with the VetCom CEO and military veteran Kate Monroe as you're taking a live look at Air Force One. Of course, President Trump on the way right now from Joint Base Andrews all the way to Dover, Delaware, of course, to Dover Air Force Base. Not a very long trip, of course. We know that there's this dignified transfer ceremony, and a lot of people maybe not familiar with those terms. But this is when the two that died in Syria were killed by ISIS, and the interpreter, I believe it's the two Iowa National Guardsmen, the bodies will be taken off of the plane. Have you ever attended a ceremony like this in your military service?
I haven't been to one of these specifically, but I've been to many, many veterans' funerals. Even my own grandpa. It was the first one I actually went to. Was my grandfather's. I actually have his flag in my office. It's a constant reminder of his service, but it's beautiful. It is totally different than any sort of regular funeral, and certainly these types when the president is attending, when people are injured or killed, overseas. It's a big deal. I've actually heard from a lot of people that have been on the planes when sometimes when the bodies are being transferred around the country, and it's a big deal. So we need to pause and have reverence for this moment.
Isn't it something at airports? I've seen it once before. I believe I was at Reagan Airport in D.C. when they have flights for living veterans that are traveling to D.C. from all across the country.
Honor flights.
Yeah, honor flights, exactly. And I remember being there, and about 80% of the passengers waiting in that gate stood up and were clapping for the veterans as they were coming off the plane. What a moment, right?
Oh, it's so beautiful. I mean, it's easy to clap for people when they're in front of you. And it's easy to say thank you for your service when you pass by a veteran, but I would challenge everybody, instead of just saying thank you for your service, start asking veterans, how can I help? Because we're talking to 200 to 300 veterans a day who can't even afford groceries, let alone our help. It's absolutely a travesty what's going on. And we always want to take care of little kids and old people and dogs and, make our little donation. But there's somebody you could help. There's 20 million veterans.
Exactly. And that's exactly what we saw again yesterday in Montgomery, Alabama, the Salute to Veterans Bowl. It was great to be there and see that bowl there. And again, every time that I've attended a military funeral or event, when you hear taps, when you have that 21 gun salute, I mean, the amount of patriotism and heartfelt just love for our land, I can't stop just being appreciative of it, because it really comes down to them protecting our freedoms in this country. So Kate, final word there, if you'd like, just to talk about our future here in the country. I mean, we're looking to save the nation, of course. We want to see great things done. We want secure elections and on, but I'll let the floor be yours if there's any direction you'd like to take the conversation.
Well, I mean, I feel like, Trump is going to talk tonight, and I think it's going to be interesting because he's going to be talking to the whole of the nation. So for once, he might get an uninterrupted chat with the nation, no matter what side they're on. They may have their own nasty commentary after, but I think everybody's going to get to see the good news of what has been done so far, and then conversely, where we are going as a nation after. There's a lot of good that has been done. There's a lot of safeties that have been put in place. Even gas prices. You want to just talk about prices coming down. I mean, I think gas prices across the nation are down, and that's a big expense that people have in their households. So I'm excited for where we're going. Whether, sometimes you got to shut the news off for a second and just look around and realize what the truth really is at your own kitchen table.
Exactly. People can talk about that. And that's what I love about this country. We have freedom of speech still. It's not something to be taken for granted, of course. Kate Monroe, CEO of VetCom and military veteran, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Always good to speak with Kate Monroe there, out there in California, live with us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. And many people have varying opinions on how things are going right now. It's something that is, you tell it like it is, right? You want to see how the country is doing on a number of fronts. Of course, a lot of people are very happy about the National Guard being in various cities. ICE cleaning up the streets when it comes to mainly criminal illegal aliens as well. So we want law and order. We want secure elections in this country. So we would like to see the voter reform come to pass. A number of people are talking about prosecutions to those that have broken the law, holding them accountable as well over the years. There's just a lot. Also on Friday, the DOJ has until Friday to release the Epstein files. So the transparency in government. So there's a lot of things that we can do to win and save the day, because I just don't want to see in 2029 another president come in that is not on the right side of history, right? A Democrat, and come in there and reverse all of these things that are happening. And there's a number of other topics we can get into today, but of course, we're going to keep it more in news fashion on this Wednesday, December 17th, 1:02 Eastern Time. Again, thank you so much for joining us on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Again, great to have Kate Monroe join us. We'll have another live interview coming up in just a minute, but before we get to that, let's go to a couple videos within the 24/7 news cycle, including from Saturday for Wreaths of America, and then just last night for the Salute to Veterans Bowl. Let's start with that. Let's start with the Salute to Veterans Bowl. Received this towel just yesterday in Montgomery, of course, one of those that you wave in the stands, that kind of thing. But it was great to be there. This is going to be the rendition of the national anthem that was sung there. I kind of just recorded that, put it underneath some of the video I got on my iPhone, and this is the video.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets reclaim the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Great to hear those chants in Montgomery yesterday, USA chants. Met some great people on the right side of history there in Montgomery, Alabama. Jacksonville State taking on Troy University. Jacksonville State won that game. I believe that final score was 17-13. But outside of that, all of the paratroopers coming down with the United States flag and all 6 branches of the United States military and, all of the things, right? And again, it was a salute to Veterans Bowl in Alabama, Montgomery, of course, the capital of Alabama. And not too far from the Capitol building is the Martin Luther King Church as well. So there's just a lot of history, of course, in this great state of Alabama. Outside of that, we're tracking stories, of course, all across the country. If you joined us on Monday, it was not an easy broadcast because it was, 3-4 days straight of atrocities from out there in Australia, of course, with the Hanukkah celebration, and then the Islamic terrorist attack there. Then various reports, of course, in Providence, Rhode Island, of the Brown University shooting. And then, in other kind of, Hollywood, I guess you could say, news, but the actor Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle dying to the hands of the suspect right now. Of course, Nick Reiner, the son. I mean, there's just so many different stories. How about I believe it was in Georgia. A woman was just leaving church, sitting down on a park bench, and somebody poured acid on her. She's in her 50s, survived the attack. Attacks similar in New York City in the sense of a stabbing attack. I mean, a lot's going on. We know that. And that's just on the domestic and international news front of breaking news, let alone all the things that we want to see to get done to save the country so we don't wind up like another country in Europe that doesn't even allow you to have freedom of speech. It really is good versus evil. I know you guys know that, but man, is it not showing? It's showing it more than ever before, the good versus evil. And the majority of the country is on the right side of history. So let's keep it on. Let's win some elections. Let's win as many as we can, especially those midterms. Let's get that secure election in place. And also, the voter ID, right? The paper ballots, same-day voting, all the things. Today at 1 o'clock, the precinct strategy meeting, actually that is starting, it already started. That's something you can watch on replay as well a bit later. Just look up precinct strategy. There's just a big call that's happening. So we'll be able to watch that a bit later. But we're awaiting the president right now and the First Lady, Melania Trump. Before we get to our Wreaths Across America video, let's go to that, as we know that the Second Lady is accompanying the president at the Dignified Transfer Ceremony today. There's a documentary about her life being released in theaters on Friday, January 30th. Let's take a look at that.
Here we go again.
You can come in. Come on in. My proudest legacy will be that of peacemaker.
Peacemaker in the fire. Beautiful. Together with like-minded leaders, we have a voice. Is it safe?
It is safe.
Everyone wants to know. So here it is. Hi, Mr. President. Congratulations.
Did you watch it?
I did not. Yeah, I will see it on the news.
All right, so that's January 30th. As you see there, we will be seeing the Second Lady, Melania Trump, accompanying President Trump in Dover, Delaware for the Dover Air Force Base Dignified Transfer Ceremony. Let's go over that just one more time, as some of you have just joined us. Sergeant William Nathaniel, he goes by Nate Howard, 29 of Marshalltown on the left there, and Sergeant Edgar Torres Tovar, 25 years old of Des Moines, along with a civilian interpreter, Ayed Sakat of Michigan. They were killed by an attacker on Saturday who targeted a convoy of American and Syrian forces before being shot dead. The Des Moines Register, the Associated Press, reporting the gunman stormed a meeting between U.S. and Syrian security officials in Palmyra, Syria, and opened fire after clashing with Syrian guards. So those are the two fallen National Guardsmen that will be at Dover Air Force Base for this dignified transfer ceremony that the President and the First Lady will take part in. We'll have that live once we see that live picture from Dover. We're also monitoring the latest condition for West Virginia National Guardsman Andrew Wolf. Remember, he was shot alongside Specialist Sarah Beckstrom, who was killed on November 26. Another Islamic terrorist move there, an action that claimed the life of Sarah Beckstrom. But Andrew Wolf is making progress, slowly recovering. So we're believing and praying for his recovery out there in West Virginia as well. Again, these are the two Iowa National Guardsmen, William Howard and Edgar Torres Tovar, who lost their lives in Syria. Tonight at 9 o'clock, the president will deliver an address to the nation at the White House at the diplomatic reception room. So we'll have that coverage starting at 7:30 Eastern time. So we'll look forward to you joining us for that coverage. Also, other stories that we are tracking right now. One is that we know that the president will be speaking on Friday in Rocky Point, North Carolina. We'll have live coverage, boots on the ground there for that coverage as well. I believe that is starting at 6 o'clock Eastern for our live coverage from North Carolina on Friday. And of course, we're awaiting any more details out of the Centennial State, Colorado, for the release of Patriot Tina Peters. Again, there's this precinct strategy call that you guys can check out a bit later that is talking all about Tina, but also about securing our elections for the midterms and for just the future. We at the end of the day, it's only about free and fair elections. Simple as that. No fraud, no abuse, no nothing when it comes to any of the, whether it's the voting process, the system, all of that. And it's one of those promises from the campaign trail from the Trump team over the years, or over the past year, couple years, was securing our elections. It was number 19 out of 20 for the core promises. Voter ID, proof of citizenship, same-day voting, paper ballots, and the list goes on there. So we have to secure our elections. As you guys may know, the voter ID, that's pretty wild to see that so many countries around the earth that are not first world, I mean second world, third world countries have voter ID, and the United States doesn't. Not cool. Let's get it taken care of. We want our elections to be secure. We don't want communists and socialists and Marxists and technocrats and people that are just trying to control all of us. We don't want the system to control us. We know what that's been like. We don't want it any longer. We're now awake, and we have a fighting spirit. Just ask those, when we all make it to heaven, those of us going to heaven, I mean, hopefully everybody will. But in 1776, Thomas Jefferson, you better believe I'll be going up to President Jefferson and saying, thank you for what you did. You gave us so many years of freedom down there, along with the founding fathers, but we have to keep that going. It's not something just to let go and say, oh, we've got it, we're good. Let's keep on keeping on. Let's keep speaking about it. Right into the face of the system. You have to. I mean, you have a choice to make, right? So that's really what we're looking at. Before we get to our live interview, I'd like to go to the wreaths across America that happened in Alabama just on Saturday. So Director, if we have that video, let's go to that as we get ready to interview our next guest.
So to be able to do this in communities across America, all pretty much at the same time, I think it's an awesome testimony to the American spirit and the fact that we don't take for granted the freedoms that we do have.
Randall.
Randall J. Hogan.
For your service.
Merry Christmas, Randy.
Major James E. McLaughlin, United States Air Force. Thank you for your service. Pennies so they know veteran is here.
Clayton Lee Wallace, my second son, uncle to the young man right here. Merry Christmas. We miss you. And I understand the reasons why you're here. Son, all we can say is, we love you. And with that, we have a wreath for you. Clay, here is your wreath. We've decorated a little bit, put some flags and markers in there. Clay, thank you, sir.
We took an oath, and that's why we do what we do. And the more people that take that oath and stand up for what they believe and what they were taught to believe, the better off this country's going to be. because we don't want to go by the wayside like some of these other people.
It's for freedom. It's for acknowledging that, they say every veteran signed a blank check with their lives, to serve the American people. So it's honoring those who have, and for us, having a very close friend and a classmate, so someone our age here, and it's a way because it's local, and we have had veterans in our families, and we can't always get to their grave sites. So it's I think it's a way to say thank you to all of them.
Definitely tough to watch that. Again, that Wreaths Across America, that was more than, I believe it was 2,500 participating locations, all 50 states, at sea and abroad. That was December 13th, so this past Saturday. Joining us now is Andrew Leake. He's a development officer for the Children of Fallen Patriots. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us on Right Side Broadcasting.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
Definitely. Can you talk to us about the Children of Fallen Patriots, your organization, and how it works?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll kind of talk about how we got started. Our founders, David and Cynthia Kim, founded this foundation in 2003 with the sole purpose to provide college and trade school scholarships, educational assistance, and career counseling to children who lost a parent in the line of duty. Our founder, David Kim, served in the Army. He graduated from West Point in 1988, and he dropped in Panama, where he lost one of his soldiers, Sergeant Delaney Gibbs. And at the time of Delaney Gibbs' passing, it was 6 days before Christmas, and he had a wife at home with their unborn daughter. And that really struck David, and he decided it was going to be his mission in life to ensure that kids like that, their dreams and goals are still realized despite the tragedies they've gone through. So since 2003, we've given out $82 million in college scholarships to Gold Star children, over 4,000 Gold Star kids, of which I'm one of. My father, Staff Sergeant Bryce Leake, passed away in a training accident in 2015. And at the time of my dad's passing, my brother was a senior in high school. I was a sophomore, and my sister was a freshman. And so my mom had 3 kids in high school and just lost, her husband. And it was a pretty dark time for our family, as you can imagine. And Fallen Patriots stepped in and made sure that, the financial burdens of higher education weren't going to be an issue for us. So we all graduated debt-free from 4-year universities. And my sister and I both now work full-time for Fallen Patriots, and, to sort of give it back and pay it forward. So kids like us have the same opportunities, if not better opportunities than we had.
First of all, sorry for your loss. Heartfelt condolences, because, losing a father is not easy, and I can attest to that. But let's talk about just how you're able to do what you do every day, though. Because you have that memory of your dad, and you're out there just helping out more people and doing it for freedom, doing it for the country. How do you stay strong and keep on keeping on?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. I think for me, and I'm going to try and get through this without getting too emotional, but all I wanted to do was join the Army when I was a kid. My dad was my hero. I loved seeing him in uniform, and I wanted to follow in his footsteps. And he deployed to Kosovo in the early 2000s, and then to Afghanistan in 2009 and 11, and he came home on all of those deployments. And so you don't really understand what the risks of the job are. And unfortunately, like I said, when he passed away in a training accident, and I was in high school, that kind of hit me of what the reality of being in the service, what the ultimate price could end up being. And I didn't want to leave my mom, my sister, and my brother behind, and so I changed paths. And I think that's really something that I've internally struggled with a lot since then, is feeling like a coward, or feeling like I couldn't do, I wasn't called to serve because of fear. I wasn't the man that my father was, and many other servicemen and women who go into the service despite knowing the risks. And so I've struggled with that internally. And I think when the opportunity came to work for Fallen Patriots full time, for me it was very healing, in a sense of, I feel like I can do my part. We just had our Greenwich Gala, our 16th annual gala in Greenwich, Connecticut, where we raised $2.3 million for our scholars. And our guest speaker there was, four-star General Rainey, and he talked about how everyone is called to serve, although the uniform isn't for everyone. And that was super, therapeutic for me to hear that, maybe the uniform wasn't for me, maybe it never was, but I can serve in this capacity and ensure that kids like me, are getting educational opportunity, despite, losing one of our patriots.
Just the other day, I was actually thinking about that question of who do you serve? And I remember putting on True Social pretty recently that we the people love God and family, country, freedom, common sense, truth, justice in the American way. And you can actually add to that love, but also who do you serve? You serve God, family, country, freedom, right? And isn't that interesting? Isn't that something that all of us have to answer that question? Like, and if you don't answer it, you're still serving something, right? And it's like, what do you serve? So can you talk to us about that both professionally and personally? I mean, you just answered the question basically, but how would you encourage others to get out there and do the same?
I think it's, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country, right? I think that's a quote that's kind of lost these days. For me, this is what I'm doing for my country. This is how I'm called to serve. I think for others, at least in our line of work, it's donations. It's contributing to our mission, supporting our scholars, and ensuring that the children left behind from our nation's fallen heroes are taken care of, and they can still, realize their dreams, realize their opportunities, both with education and then ultimately a career path. And, we've had studies done on the social impact of what, the scholarships mean for our kids, and it's a 16 X return. Every $100,000 we give out in scholarships, it's $1.6 million in social impact. And so, you multiply that over the $82 million we've given out, and it's tremendous. And so, you're investing in youth, you're investing in a specific kind of youth, a specific person of our country's future. And that's kids who are disciplined, kids who are resilient, kids who have experienced the lowest of lows, and understand what real service and sacrifice is. And, I think that's kind of why our donors are called to donate, is because they see the value in that.
And last night in Montgomery at the Salute to Veterans Bowl, the honor, the Folds of Honor was there as well. They received a check. You guys at the same time, I believe it was the end of the third quarter. Here's that towel once again from just yesterday, the Salute to Veterans Bowl. This is where I ran into some people with the Folds of Honor and ran into someone with Alabama Power who was also, I believe, donating to your company there to help out others. So can you talk to us about last night, what that was like to be there?
Yeah, that was awesome. I think, seeing an entire football game dedicated to, and an organization dedicated completely to veterans. They had the fan fest outside the stadium with different pop-up tents where I met a lot of, really cool organizations that are doing really cool things. And, you see that there's a lot of different ways that people out there care, for veterans and their families. And there's a lot of different, niche sort of areas. Obviously, we're in the educational sector, but there's, suicide prevention and mental health and homes and employment. I met a guy from an organization who, they work on helping veterans transition out of the military into real world jobs. And so there's, everyone is finding, their passion on how they want to help. And I thought that was really cool. And obviously can't say enough for Alabama Power, their foundation, donating that $5,000 check. It's absolutely fantastic. It's going to cover just about a year of college for one of our students. And I think, in Folds of Honor, they do great work also. They were there. I got to meet with the president of their Alabama chapter, and we got to talk about the work we're doing. And it's a really special evening to see an entire community, entire city that night focused on supporting our veterans and their families and all the different ways that we can do so.
Definitely. Andrew, can you share with us the website that people can go to check it out and if they'd like to donate at all?
Yeah, absolutely. So www.childrenofallenpatriots.org. You can go on there. You can learn more about the background of the foundation. Like I explained about Sergeant Delaney Gibbs, you can see who we are, who we serve. I really recommend, right on the main page, we have our Who We Serve video, and it's a video you can watch, and it's some scholars talking about their parent and their experience as a Gold Star. And it's really emotional, how worn, but it really calls you to be a part of this. And I think one thing our donors oftentimes see is they get to see where their money goes, right? So of the 40 full-time employees we have on our staff, I believe 24 of us, about that number, about 24 are former scholars. And so, you get to see when you go to certain events, like at the football game last night, I was able to be there to represent obviously the foundation as an employee, but also as a Gold Star scholar, which is a very unique perspective. And I think that's really, really cool. So watch that video. You'll meet a few of our scholars talking about their experience. It's really moving. And then, you can find all the different ways to donate, whether, you want to be part of our monthly giving campaign, you want to come to one of our galas, you want to be a part of one of our events. There's a lot of different campaigns we have. And it's all for the children of our nation's fallen. So.
Andrew Leak, a development officer for the Children of Fallen Patriots. Andrew, thank you so much for spending time with us. Thank you for what you're doing out there for the country. Glad to have you on the show.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I really appreciate it, and just want to say before I hop off too is, thoughts and prayers, and I understand if the families of the Iowa National Guard and that tragedy, I understand what they're going through, and it's hard to talk about because it floods back the memories from when it was really fresh with what happened with our family. But we are here for those families, for the kids, if there were children of those soldiers that passed. It's very simple for us. If you qualify for VA benefits, then you qualify for our assistance. So if they do have children, no matter what age, if they're 2, in 16 years, if college or trade school is their route, we're going to be there for them. So I just wanted to make sure that we as a foundation let them know that we're here for them, and we're thinking of them, of course.
Andrew Leak, thank you again for joining us, and thank you again for what you do for the country, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Matt.
All right. So it's 1:28, Wednesday, December 17th. Obviously a lot of heavy emotion this afternoon, wherever you're watching out there in the country, as President Trump is on his way to the Dover Air Force Base. He and the First Lady, Melania Trump, will participate in a dignified transfer of the bodies of the 2 slain Iowa National Guard members as they are arriving in Dover. It's Sergeant William Nathaniel Howard on the left, aged 29, and Sergeant Edgar Torres Tovar, aged 25. They were killed Saturday by an attacker who targeted a convoy of American and Syrian forces before being shot dead. Some of the reports there from the Des Moines Register and the Associated Press citing the sources there. As it's approaching the bottom of the hour, Wednesday, December 17th, as soon as we see that live feed from Dover Air Force Base, we will take you there live. Speaking of the Salute to Veterans Bowl, we're going to play that video one more time for those of you that just joined us. Before we do, let's take a quick commercial break. I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll be right back here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door.
All right, it's 1:31 Eastern Time, Wednesday, December 17th. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks so much for streaming in on this Wednesday, December 17th. Getting ready, of course, for the holidays coming up next week when it comes to Christmas Eve, Christmas, on to New Year's. Of course, Hanukkah being celebrated as well. So a lot going on in our country, a lot going on around the world, as you guys know. And let's go with the Salute to Veterans Bowl, the video. Now, you'll see the Folds of Honor president from Alabama receiving a check there in this video as well. As I was there last night, heard the national anthem, saw our military there, and salute to the veterans. So let's take a look at that video as we await President Trump in Dover, Delaware.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. Oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
All right, so quite the game there last night. Jacksonville State edging Troy University, but there, of course, for the pregame, to hear the national anthem, to see the paratroopers coming down with the American flag at all 6 branches of our military as we are awaiting the president and the second lady in Dover for the Dover Air Force Base Dignified Transfer Ceremony. As we await that live video, speaking of the National Guard as well, I recently interviewed the West Virginia Senator Chris Rose. He tells me that Sergeant Andrew Wolf, who was shot on November 26th by that Islamic terrorist there, what we know is that Andrew is doing better, recovering slowly, still needing prayers. The family asking for prayers for Andrew. And of course, we remember Sarah Beckstrom, who died in that tragedy on November 26th. Let's shift gears slightly as we await the president. So in the meantime, what we'll do is we're going to go to an interview here that was recorded just within the 24/7 news cycle. It's with businessman and patriot Mark Lynch. He's running for U.S. Senate in South Carolina. What we'll do is we're going to go to that interview. In the meantime, if we see a live feed from Dover Air Force Base, of course, we'll cut over to that and take that live and then finish that interview after that. So let's go to that interview with the businessman and patriot Mark Lynch running for U.S. Senate in South Carolina. Joining us now is businessman and patriot Mark Lynch, joining us from the Palmetto State. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us.
Thank you, Matt. It's an honor to be on your show today.
Definitely. Let's talk about the United States Senate in South Carolina and why you're throwing your hat in the ring to run for that seat.
Yeah, well, I got involved in this business, I guess, back in 2014, meeting a gentleman teaching on our national security issues with the Islamic infiltration in America, and hearing all that information from one of the top guys in the country, John Guandolo. I started working with his organization and became a board chairman. later, training our local police and SLED agents and having events at churches with like 800 people attending. The citizens of South Carolina and the state legislature guys I met in the Senate and the House said, you need to run for office with the knowledge you have in this topic. And so I ran for a state Senate seat in 2020. I lost by 5%, almost won. We formed an organization called the United Patriots Alliance, where we started doing political activist work from the outside, getting rid of bad bills and helping get good people into office, and doing a lot of work teaching the Constitution and different things. And the last 4.5 years, people have asked me, you need to run again. We need a guy like you. This is a business guy that understands growing a business, that won't compromise, that has good principles and values like you have. And so we prayed about it, and a consultant recommended that, my position would be best served as a United States Senator. So we made that decision, and here we are. And it's time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, having people that are, first of all, outsiders, outside of the whole political swamp thing is always good too. Let's talk about God, family, country, and freedom. I would believe that that's exactly some of the things that you're saying, the reasons why you're running.
Yes. Well, I'm an ordained deacon at our church at Burnsview Baptist Church. I was saved when I was 11. Been running our family business. We're now in our 74th year. We've been debt-free since 1999. My father handed the reins over to me in 1985. So in the last 40 years, our business has grown 35 times, from 5 people to 110. We started out in a 3,200 square foot facility. We're now operating out of a 132,000 square foot facility. And I met with Roger Stone back in March when we filed in February for this race, and he said, Trump will want to see 2 things, your polling and how much skin you have in the game. So my wife and I prayed about it, and being blessed and being debt-free for years, we pushed $5 million of our own retirement fund to kickstart this campaign for Lynch for Senate. And so we're all in. So I know how to use a calculator, and I know what operating debt-free is like. That's biblical principles, and our campaign is God first. Our forefathers that framed the Constitution, and we came here to worship the one true God. Our Constitution only works in a moralistic society, and we got to get back to that, and we bring God first into this campaign. That's what'll make America great again. Nothing else will. It's up to God, and we've got to surrender back to Him and put Him first.
Exactly. I mean, that's the priority. That's why that order too: God, family, country, freedom. God first,
That's
definitely.
Right.
And then on top of that, we see a lot going on across our country, let alone across the world. Are there other policies or other things that you want to work on for your constituents in South Carolina and we the people as a whole? Because we love our Constitution, at least the people on the right side of history, which I believe is the majority of the country. So your thoughts about that?
Yes, and as we travel the state, we find that the majority of the people are like us. They're America First, MAGA people that are sick and tired of all the craziness that's going on. We just got to have the right representation in our state in D.C. So I'm an America First candidate. That means we're bankrupt. People ask me a lot about wars, and they know Lindsey Graham is a warmonger. He's all about starting more wars, and I'm not. I'll defend. I'll give everything our military needs. I'm so excited about having Pete Hegseth as the Department of War guy, but we can't get involved in wars where we're sending our men and women to get killed or maimed with no American reason to be involved. We're not supposed to be the police dog of the whole world. And the business side of that is we don't have the money. We're bankrupt. We can't afford to go to war right now. We need to pay our debts down, and everybody's is eat up with the inflation in our state. When I speak at universities, the kids are upset about all the H-1B visa competition they're running into, where kids from India. I had a student from Clemson University say, when I graduate next year, I'm an engineering major, and I'm probably not going to get a job because a kid from India will take half the pay, and he's not going to ever assimilate into this country. And I was born here. And so what are we going to do about that? Our kids are looking at how are we ever going to have our own house again? So when we look at the Constitution and we look at all the unconstitutional agencies and departments we've created, experts tell us in the finance side of things that if we could eliminate those, 80% of our budget would be returned, and we would be closer to balancing. We're, $38 trillion in debt. So we've got to work on that. Lindsay's been the chair of the budget committee, and, I don't see any fruit there from his work. He's been the chair of the Judiciary Committee, and he's appointed all the judges that are against everything that we're all for. Every judge that the Democrats wanted, he and a couple other senators helped confirm those judges for Biden's administration. So we've got a lot of problems with that too. And America First means bringing manufacturing back to our homeland. We saw how vulnerable we were as a nation during 2020 when we couldn't get anything because we don't make anything anymore. In our business and appliances and furniture and TVs, we've seen that happen where, the Japanese came in and took all of our American manufacturers out of the television business, and it got replaced with JVC, Panasonic, Toshiba, Sony, and all of our American manufacturers like Zenith and RCA and Philco and Magnavox were put out of business. We've seen it happen to our car industry. So I'm glad we have tariffs to equalize the cost to bring goods from other countries in here, because we don't pay our people 32 cents an hour. They make more than that. They don't live in a sweat house with 1,000 people in the space 20 people should be in, with just horrible living conditions. And so I hope we get that back, especially our pharmacies, and make our own medicine here in America. I don't really feel good about the enemies of America making our medicine. And it's just a big job to get all that back and get this inflation under control and really be focused on our country. If I get in as a U.S. Senator for South Carolina to represent the South Carolinians and Americans in our country, I work for America. I don't work for other countries. And so we've got to focus on America first and take care of things at home.
100%. America first is the way to go, as to your point there. And then June 2026, the South Carolina primary. So what's your schedule going to look like, after the holidays, starting January 2nd, 3rd, 4th?
Yeah, well, we're already full speed ahead, have been since February. Our campaign team is doing interviews like with you, and thank you again for having me on. And all in between that during the day, we're traveling and speaking all over our state, meeting all the great South Carolinians so they can hear me and see my platform, and we're winning everywhere we speak. Our polls tell us that 57% of South Carolinians will never vote for Lindsey Graham again, even though he has Trump's endorsement. The whole social media tone is that endorsement won't save him this time. They're ready for a businessman, a successful businessman that keeps God first, family, country, like we talked about, and that's me. And I'm a leader in our community, and I'm a David and Goliath story in our business. We go up against the big box stores in our country that get all the tax breaks and everything that we don't get, and people that were here through our 74 years that aren't here anymore are Sears and Roebuck, Montgomery Wards, Leachmere, Circuit City, H.H. Gregg, on and on. And we're still here, and our business is thriving and growing debt-free because we work hard. So I know how to take something on, get focused to it, make good, godly decisions. And if I go into the United States Senate for America and for South Carolinians, every decision I make will be biblically filtered first, and then it's got to get through the Constitution second, or it's a no. If it makes it through those two filters, yeah.
I really like that.
Yeah, do we need it? And then what does it cost the taxpayer? Because we're bankrupt. So we've got to stop spending is the first thing, and get our focus back on our own people and our country.
It's refreshing to hear the biblical filter, the constitutional filter. What's it going to cost the people? That's refreshing. It really is refreshing to hear. Businessman and patriot Mark Lynch running for U.S. Senate in South Carolina. Mark, thank you again. We hope to have you on maybe in 2026 to give us an update on how the campaign's going.
Yes, sir. Look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. All right. So, of course, that interview just accomplished, I think, just yesterday, actually. So Mark Lynch running for U.S. Senate in the Palmetto State, of course, South Carolina. You saw on the other side of the screen there, President Trump arriving at Dover Air Force Base, now on the way from the airport aspect over to the actual base area where the Dignified Transfer Ceremony will take place. Of course, that's the president plus the second or the first lady, Melania Trump, will be there as well. Again, the president will participate in a dignified transfer of the bodies of 2 slain Iowa National Guard members as they have arrived in the United States. Now, Sergeant William Nathaniel Howard, 29 of Marshalltown, and Sergeant Edgar Torres Tovar, 25 of Des Moines, along with a civilian interpreter, Ayed Mansour Sakat of Michigan, were killed Saturday by an attacker who targeted a convoy of American and Syrian forces before being shot dead. This report specifically verbatim from the Des Moines Register. Also, the Associated Press reported the gunman stormed a meeting between U.S. and Syrian security officials in Palmyra, Syria, and opened fire after clashing with Syrian guards. So as soon as we see that live picture, we'll take you there. We are told for all the networks, the pool feed that we're going to see at Dover Air Force Base will not have audio at all. There's no natural sound. There's no audio. It will be video only, and we will throw to that video as soon as we see it and be here and cover that live here with you. As it's 1:48 Wednesday, December 17th, we know that tonight at the White House, the president will deliver an address to the nation. That'll be at the diplomatic reception room at the White House. We'll have coverage here that starts at 7:30 Eastern. Robert McNeely will be in studio for that coverage. Speaking of Robert, I believe he'll be also traveling coming up, and we'll be doing some live coverage from North Carolina as the president will be speaking there on Friday night and Rocky Point, North Carolina. So a lot of coverage coming up over the next 24 to 48 hours, just in general, when it comes to the president's schedule, on top of all of the national and international headlines that we've been seeing. And then, of course, if you're on X and on Truth Social, there's a million stories on there too. So there's just a lot going on. But you know what? The reason why I anchor into saying on repeat, and if you're kind of sick of me saying it, sorry, but it's just something that I like to talk about. It's God, family, country, freedom, common sense, truth, justice, and the American way. From that filter and from that perspective is what we hold on to in this country on the right side of history, we the people, and the people that want to be free, not only in the United States, but across the earth. It's really that freedom aspect versus tyrannical, right? It's truth versus lies, good versus evil, freedom versus the tyrannical ways of just shutting down freedom, censorship, and all the things. Well, it's back at it again when it comes to the fight for freedom in our country. We have to maintain it. We have to keep it. We have to keep the Constitution, the law of the land. You might be asking, well, it's not even in question. Well, what's going to happen in the future? We have to make sure we still stick to what we believe here. And of course, I know you do, but it's great to be able to speak like this when in the mainstream media, do they ever, champion things like freedom, champion things like the truth? No, they don't. We know that. So it's great to have that solution of conservative media, Right Side Broadcasting Network, many great conservative networks out there, podcasters, civilian journalists, content creators coming from a conservative perspective and that filter, which is the right one to have on, in my opinion. And I believe many of you agree with that. And I've seen you say a lot of cool, positive things on Truth Social and X as well in support of the kinds of words that I'm speaking here. Now, again, will that happen from the left, those that are extreme on the left that want socialism and communism and Marxism? No, you're not going to get love from that. Maybe you will someday. Maybe they'll just turn and get to the right side of things and see the light, as they say. So if you'd like to follow me on Truth Social, it's at Matthew Alvarez. And then on X, it's at Matthew US Media. Just jumped back on X last month. I was on Truth, and I'm still on Truth. Been there for 3 years. I was on Twitter back in the day when I was a local news reporter. Kind of got away from Twitter because we saw what happened as well, just the Twitter files and all that. But now that Elon's back there, and it's just another place to get out the word. You can follow me at Matthew US Media. But of course, very happy to be at Truth Social, as well as are many of you that are watching here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. If you'd like to follow Right Side, there are more than 4 million great patriots that follow Right Side on Truth Social, more than 1 million on X. The numbers are growing. Great to see that. Also, if you're watching us on Rumble and downloading the app, all the things, thanks so much for doing it. If you're watching us on YouTube, thanks for watching. And also on the app, the website, and all the other places that you can watch Right Side. So again, it's been 10 years. Can you believe it? 10 plus years that Right Side Broadcasting Network's been doing something that has been grassroots and common sense. And isn't that what we just want in this country? Grassroots, common sense to win, right? And we want common sense solutions and ideas, and we want them applied. And it reminds me of Mike Lindell just the other day on another network talking about common sense and what the government should be doing in Minnesota. So, of course, Mike Lindell running for governor of that state. I've never been to Minnesota. I've been to a lot of states. Actually, I was at Minneapolis Airport. Does that count? I don't know. But I've never been out in this, Minneapolis. Never saw, a football game or a hockey game there. Maybe I'll be there someday to check it out. But the point is, it comes back down to the common sense and the grassroots organizations like Right Side. So 2015, it was all about simply showing President Trump's speeches in its entirety from start to finish, showing the crowds. The mainstream media, they tried to see this little box that I'm in right here. They just wanted to put President Trump in a box back in the day. They said, let's just keep it in a box, even though we hear audio of everybody chanting, "We love you," and USA and "Build the Wall," and on and on and on. The mainstream media was like, oh boy, we don't think Trump's going to win, but here's the speech in Charlotte, North Carolina. Okay, there's 30 seconds of the speech. Let's pull away from that. We hope Trump's not going to win. We have a system to protect. We don't want that truth out there. Thanks to Joe Seals at this network and the family, Mama Seals, Bridget Seals, everybody. And all of the colleagues that have worked here, most of them. We won't get into that. I'm not talking about somebody that's currently in conservative media, but anyway. But great people that have worked here over the years. The point is that we've had that open forum for freedom for you right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network for 10 straight years and into the future. The rallies, the events, the speeches, the White House coverage, you're going to see Dover Air Force Base today. So all of that from a common sense move to say we're going to show the full speech, we're going to show the crowds. Mainstream media and Democrats, what are you afraid of? Are you afraid of the truth? Are you afraid of somebody that tells it like it is? They were. So then President Trump won. He won again in 2020. We know what happened there. He won again in 2024. And here we are, December 17th, 2025. So there's a lot of people out there with differing opinions on how things are going. At the end of the day, what we want to see are wins, wins, wins. I'd rather have President Trump in office than Kamala Harris any day of the week. And also on top of that, we want to see the secure elections. We want people to be held accountable that have broken the law when it comes to evidence or receipts within the court of law. We want our freedom of speech and our constitutional rights to continue to be what we have as the law of the land. We don't want our country to veer off. We're not into wokeism and all that, right? Anyway, thanks so much for joining us right now as we are live at 1:55 Eastern Time, Wednesday, December 17th. Again, let's go over the specifics as we await the President and the First Lady as they participate in a dignified transfer ceremony at Dover Air Force Base. Again, according to the Des Moines Register, President Trump will participate in that dignified transfer of the bodies of 2 slain Iowa National Guard members as they have arrived there in Dover, Delaware. We do have the photos of Sergeant William Nathaniel Howard on the left, He's age 29. He's of Marshalltown, Iowa. Sergeant Edgar Torres Tovar, 25 years old, of Des Moines, Iowa. A civilian interpreter, Aid Mansour Sakat of Michigan. The three were killed Saturday by an attacker who targeted a convoy of American and Syrian forces before being shot dead. The AP reported the gunman stormed a meeting between U.S. and Syrian security officials in Palmyra, Syria, and opened fire after clashing with Syrian guards. We're also monitoring the latest condition for West Virginia National Guardsman Andrew Wolf, who was shot in D.C. on November 26. He's slowly recovering, making progress, praying for his recovery, as many are across the country. And of course, we remember Sarah Beckstrom, who was killed on November 26 on the streets of D.C. by a radical Muslim that killed Sarah. And of course, similar things happened just in Australia as Jews were celebrating the Hanukkah celebration, and that gunman claimed upwards of 15 lives. So those are the stories that we're tracking, including tonight at 9 o'clock. The president will deliver an address to the nation from the diplomatic reception room at the White House. Our coverage will start at 7:30 Eastern Time. All right, for those of you that are just joining us, we're going to play a couple of videos here. One is the Wreaths Across America, then the salute to the Veterans Bowl. Most likely after that, we'll be seeing a live feed from the president. In the meantime, let's go to Wreath Across America. This is, again, more than 2,500 participating locations in all 50 states, out on the open sea as well, and abroad, where people are putting Christmas wreaths at the tomb of veterans. That happened this Saturday in Alabama. Let's take a look at that video. Wreaths Across America. This as we await President Trump in Dover, Delaware.
So to be able to do this in communities across America, all pretty much at the same time, I think it's an awesome testimony to the American spirit and the fact that we don't take for granted the freedoms that we do have.
Randall.
Randall J. Hudson. Merry Christmas, Randy.
Major J.S.E. McLaughlin, United States Air Force. Thank you for your service. Pennies so they know veteran is here.
Clayton Lee Wallace, my second son, uncle to the young man right here. Merry Christmas. We miss you. And I understand the reasons why you're here. Son, all we can say is, we love you. And with that, we have a wreath for you. Clay, here is your wreath. We've decorated a little bit, put some flags and markers in there. Clay, thank you, son.
We took an oath, and that's why we do what we do. And the more people that take that oath and stand up for what they believe and what they were taught to believe, the better off this country's going to be. Because we don't want to go by the wayside like some of these other people.
It's for freedom. It's for acknowledging that, they say every veteran signed a blank check with their lives, to serve the American people. So it's honoring those who have, and for us, having a very close friend and a classmate, so someone our age here, and it's a way because it's local, and we have had veterans in our families, and we can't always get to their grave sites. So it's I think it's a way to say thank you to all of them.
And according to Wreaths Across America, if you'd like to purchase a wreath or sponsor a wreath for maybe next year, or if you'd like one of the wreaths, if you have a loved one that died in war or is a veteran, you can get one of those wreaths as well. So it's Wreaths Across America. That happened on Saturday, December 13th. That was here in Alabama. And again, last night, that salute to Veterans Bowl that was in Montgomery, Alabama, so not too far from our location here at Right Side. And some more specifics about the Iowa National Guardsmen that lost their lives in Syria. So Sergeant William Howard, he served in the United States Army. The unit, he was in the 1st Squadron, 113th Cavalry Regiment, 2nd Infantry Brigade Combat Team, the 34th Infantry Division of the Iowa National Guard in Boone, Iowa, hometown Marshalltown, Iowa. And then the 2nd Iowa National Guard that lost his life in Syria. His rank and name, Sergeant Edgar Torres Tovar. The unit is the 1st Squadron, 113th Cavalry Regiment, 2nd Infantry Brigade Combat Team, 34th Infantry Division of the Iowa National Guard in Boone, Iowa, the hometown Des Moines, Iowa. The interpreter, the United States Army, rank and name, Ayed Mansour Sakat. He is from Macomb, Michigan. The door attendant for that C-17 aircraft, Senior Airman On Dingren. So that will be happening here shortly. As soon as we see that live feed, we'll take you there. Traveling through that state of Iowa, a number of great patriots in the Midwest there when we were going through for the campaign for the primary season, and of course President Trump winning the Iowa caucuses, but traveling all throughout that state in Iowa and remembering today two fallen Iowa National Guardsmen. So we will be showing you that live picture as soon as we receive it here at the network. We've been live since 12:45 Eastern. We've had a number of live interviews and recorded interviews, and now we're standing by there for Dover Air Force Base as the President and the First Lady will participate in this event. This is the Dignified Transfer Ceremony at Dover Air Force Base. In the meantime, speaking of the First Lady, First Lady Melania Trump, there's this new documentary that's coming out. It'll be on Friday, January 30th. We have that trailer, so we'll show that to you right now as we await the Dover Air Force Base event.
Here we go again.
You can come in. Come on in. Our proudest legacy will be that of peacemaker.
Peacemaker and unifier. Beautiful. Together, with like-minded leaders, we have a voice. Is it safe?
It is safe.
Everyone wants to know. So here it is. Hi, Mr. President. Congratulations.
Did you watch it?
I did not. Yeah, I will see it on the news.
All right, so just monitoring some of the things that are happening out there on social media as well. That documentary, of course, on January 30th. Looking at breaking 911 as well, a number of stories that we're tracking. The U.S. House has passed a GOP healthcare bill, 213 to 209, allowing people to buy insurance in groups to lower premiums without extending ACA subsidies favored by Democrats for major insurers. So once again, Breaking 911 reporting the U.S. House has passed a GOP healthcare bill, 213 to 209, allowing people to buy insurance in groups to lower premiums without extending ACA subsidies favored by Democrats for major insurers. Also, speaking of Breaking 911, did you guys see this one story here? I know you can't really see just what's on my phone right here. We don't have permission to air this one video, but there's a lady named Jeannie. Jeannie, she's an elderly woman harassed for wearing a Charlie Kirk shirt while working at Target, has now raised more than $65,000 in donations. The video posted by whoever was harassing her, and it was verbal harassment. It wasn't physical or anything, but that's a story that people have been talking about. So this lady that's working there, she's elderly, has this red Charlie Kirk shirt on. I know you can't probably see it from the distance, but you might be able to check it out on there. And I did watch the video earlier today, and I was watching with my wife, and the girl was F-bombing and saying, how can you effing wear this T-shirt? Are you allowed to wear this T-shirt? She says, I am. It's a red shirt. She goes, well, it's not a blank red shirt. And the older lady was saying, well, I'm allowed to wear it. And obviously she was working at Target, and the managers there, I guess, allowed her to wear it. It's, I guess, allowed. I don't know. I wasn't there, but this is what we heard on the back and forth. But this girl was being very, very rude to this elderly lady. Well, now I'm not sure which organization, if it's GoFundMe or what here, but it could be a number of different things. But there's a $100,000 goal that somebody put out there for this lady at a Target. They've raised $65,000 for her, and she held her ground. She says, well, that's your opinion, and he's not racist. That's your opinion, and all of this. So very interesting back and forth in the social media world there. Again, you know what? We will wear those kinds of shirts. Charlie Kirk, the late, great legacy that he left behind, we will see him again, those that believe, But in the meantime, what he stood for is what the conservative movement, the Tea Party movement, remember that? The Tea Party movement, the America First movement, the Freedom movement, the Liberty movement, the MAGA movement, all the movements. That's what the majority of we the people are in support of. So we will wear our American flags. We will, I don't know where that towel went to. Oh, here it is. I will wave towels like this at a sporting event. Maybe I'll go to an MLS game and wave one of these. Salute the Veterans Bowl. Come on now. We'll wear it. You're allowed to. It's a free country, right? And if somebody's going to come at you like that, well, if it's on recording and then you get $65,000, holy smokes. But yeah, it's just time to be standing up for what you believe in. And there was a question that we were talking about before about who you serve. Well, we know in this country, the majority of us serve God, family, country, freedom, common sense, truth, justice, and the American way. In a perfect world, all of that would be happening in every street across America. But we know we don't live in one of those. So what can we do about it? Let's make sure we have secure elections. Let's make sure that the people that have done things that are subverting the will of the American people in 2020, according to the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, said, people like James Comey and others, they have to face the music, right? If you have evidence and receipts against people, the court of law has to take care of that. Or there's no justice in America if that's the case. And if there's no justice, well, there'll be freedom forever in America. If there's no secure elections, will there always be freedom in America? Anyway, 2:10 Eastern, Wednesday, December 17th. Let's go to a commercial break. We'll be right back here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network. your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door.
All right, welcome back into Right Side Broadcasting Network. We're in Studio B right now. Studio A is getting renovated, so as soon as that's ready to rock and roll, we will be unveiling that coming up. So 2:12 Eastern Time, that's the White House, of course, awaiting that feed at Dover Air Force Base as everybody gets into position for the following event. The President and the First Lady will participate in the Dignified Transfer Ceremony at Dover Air Force Base. The President earlier departing from the White House. Let's show that video. If we can get that queued up, guys. We're going to show that video once again to those of you that have just joined us over the past hour or so. We'll have two videos back to back. It's of President Trump leaving the South Lawn there of the White House, boarding Marine One, and then we'll go right to the video of when he landed at Joint Base Andrews in Maryland, and then boarding Air Force One. So this is just some video from a bit earlier in the broadcast. We're going to replay some of that as we await the president, and then we'll continue on with any stories that we're tracking here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's take a look from moments ago. All right, so that was the president, of course, leaving the White House, then landing there at Joint Base Andrews, boarding Air Force One a bit earlier, and then now, of course, already in Dover, Delaware. If you're just joining us, my name is Matthew Alvarez. Thanks so much for watching RSBN Live as we continue our live coverage. We started at about 12:45 Eastern Time. So 12:45 Eastern Time, had a number of live interviews, and this was scheduled for about 1:15. It's 2:17 Eastern, Wednesday, December 17th. We'll also have the video of when President Trump deplaned from Air Force One in Dover Air Force Base, or at Dover Air Force Base in Dover, Delaware. We'll go to that as soon as that's ready as well. In the meantime, at about 2:30 Eastern Time, depending if we are in Dover, Delaware, live with the participation of the President and the First Lady of that Dignified Transfer Ceremony. If it's not happening at that time, we'll have a live interview with Scott Shenney of Monetary Gold. So looking forward to seeing how things will transfer in the sense of the videos here. Let's go now to when President Trump arrived at Dover Air Force Base. There is no natural sound, no audio that was fed by the pool camera. This is just video. Let's take a look at that. This happened within the past 30 minutes. Hey, Denver, can you try? All right, so seeing the president there from a little bit ago, about 30 minutes ago. It looks like we're going to shift our monetary gold interview a bit later in the broadcast, or record that interview and air that, of course, in the near future, as it's 2:22 Eastern Time, Wednesday, December 17th. Good afternoon once again, and welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network. I'm Matthew Alvarez. So the President and the First Lady will participate in this Dignified Transfer Ceremony at Dover Air Force Base. Again, according to the Des Moines Register, the President will participate in the dignified transfer of the bodies of 2 slain Iowa National Guard members when they arrive in the United States, which of course they are here now. Sergeant William Nathaniel Howard, he's age 29 on the left there, and Sergeant Edgar Torres Tovar, age 25 of Des Moines, along with a civilian interpreter, Ayad Mansour Sakat of Michigan. They were killed on Saturday by an attacker who targeted a convoy of American and Syrian forces before being shot dead. And according to the Des Moines Register and also the Associated Press, the gunman stormed a meeting between U.S. and Syrian security officials in Palmyra, Syria, and opened fire after clashing with Syrian guards. So we know that for Sergeant William Howard, he was part of the United States Army Unit 1st Squadron, the 113th Cavalry Regiment, the 2nd Infantry Brigade Combat Team, the 34th Infantry Division of the Iowa National Guard out of Boone, Iowa, his hometown, Marshalltown, Iowa. The gentleman you see on your right there, United States Army Sergeant Edgar Torres Tovar, also 1st Squadron, 113th Cavalry Regiment, 2nd Infantry Brigade Combat Team, 34th Infantry Division of the Iowa National Guard out of Boone, Iowa, his hometown, Des Moines, Iowa. The interpreter, Ayad Mansour Sakat, Dover Air Force Base, in just a little bit. We know that we've been saying that for about an hour, but you know how it is when it comes to keeping an area secure, and also all of the things to get everything in order for this transfer. The Dignified Transfer Ceremony that will happen here. As soon as it does, we'll bring you live coverage of it, as we've been here since 12:45 Eastern. Again, tonight, starting at 7:30 Eastern, President Trump will address the country. That'll be, again, at 9 o'clock Eastern, but our coverage will start at 7:30. Robert McNeely will be in studio for that. The president will be speaking from the diplomatic reception room at the White House as we continue to monitor and track the stories that are happening across America, including getting Tina Peters free out of Colorado, out of the state prison system there. I interviewed Peter Tickton, the lawyer of Tina Peters, just yesterday. We'll be airing some of that interview tomorrow in various live coverage, if not Friday. But we do know, of course, Friday, President Trump will be in Rocky Point, North Carolina for his speech. It's a late night speech at that point. We know it's a 9 o'clock speech, but we will be live, boots on the ground at 6 o'clock. Always good to hear from we the people out there, and we cover these events at Right Side. Of course, we've covered for many, many years. Director and producer, can you repeat that, please? Okay, we're hearing any moment now for Dover Air Force Base for the Commander-in-Chief, President Trump, and the First Lady, Melania Trump, who are attending the Dignified Transfer Ceremony. Last night in Montgomery, Alabama, was that Salute to Veterans Bowl. And, you know, military, football, America, Alabama, all the things. So I wanted to definitely go there and see it. I saw at least the first quarter, but the point is I wasn't there really for the game, even though, you know, it's still sports and it's fun to talk about Troy University versus Jacksonville State and all that. And it was the only bowl game in the whole country last night that was airing live, and the only bowl game being played. But it was prior to the event that drew me to that event, just like the wreaths across America. These events, all of them, it comes from that love for our country. It comes from the love of freedom. It comes from the love of our military. And also I just like covering things that are on the right side of history. I'm so glad I'm not part of the mainstream media crap that's out there. So why don't we play that quick video? It's only about a minute long. It's the national anthem there at the Salute to Veterans Bowl. We'll play it one more time for those of you that are just joining us, and then we'll be going to Dover, Delaware as soon as we see that live feed. So, Director, if we can get that queued up. But also this video, again, this towel from the Salute to Veterans Bowl just yesterday in Montgomery. Let's take a look as we await the president.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at
All right, slowly approaching the top of the hour, 3 o'clock on the East Coast, 3 o'clock there in Dover, Delaware. Of course, 12 o'clock right now on the West Coast. Thanks so much for live streaming in from coast to coast in the Central Time Zone, the Mountain Time Zone, as the President and the Secretary of War. You just witnessed them participate in the Dignified Transfer Ceremony at Dover Air Force Base. Today, we honor Sergeant William Nathaniel Howard, Sergeant Edgar Torres Tovar, and a civilian interpreter, Ayed Mansour Sakat of Michigan. We'll close our live stream broadcast with the national anthem, along with a salute to active military members and a salute to veterans from the bowl game last night in Montgomery, Alabama. I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll see you tonight at 7 o'clock for the President's speech, which will be starting at about 9 o'clock. We'll see you later. This is the video from last night.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say